Welcome, everybody, to the Mental Edge. This is episode, you probably know better than I do, Kinsley, is it episode 8?
Think so, yes.
And, this is from the inside out because so many people are coached from the outside in, they tell you what to do. And it's not that that's not important, it's really important, telling people what to do. But when you're working with the mental side, it's helpful to understand how to work from the inside out. Meaning if an athlete is just being told to get out of your head, don't worry about it, just do it. When that doesn't work, what do people do? And so understanding how to help yourself can be really helpful. And that's what this podcast is all about. And today I'm really excited to have my friend Kinsley White with me. She and I have known each other maybe about how long, Kins? 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I think so.
And Kinsley is so interesting because you are a snowboarder.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about you and, how did you get into snowboarding and where did it all start for you?
So I actually started snowboarding when I was 2 years old. I'm 21 now. Um, my parents, they just liked making trips up to Mammoth, so we would go. And my older sister, she would snowboard, and I just wanted to be like her. So I was trying to catch up with her. And then when I was about 7, we were still making our trips up there, and we met this one girl who was on the snowboard team up there. And my dad was like, "Oh my gosh, we need to get you on the team." And I loved snowboarding. So I was like, yes, let's do that. And then I got on the Mammoth snowboard team when I was 7 years old. That same year, competed in my first competitions. I went to the national championships and I ended up winning half pipe, which, like, I was just doing this for fun. And then when we figured out that I was actually pretty good at it, I started to focus my attention on that. And then I've been competing in half pipe ever since. Last year I got on the US team for half pipe. And yeah, I've been competing in World Cups. Last year I competed in my first X Games, and I'm hoping to qualify for the next Olympics. That's my goal. But yeah, I just have the best time snowboarding, and I've loved it ever since I was tiny.
Well, interesting when you said that. When people, hit the ground running and they have a lot of success out of the gate, that's always an interesting thing because mentally, then you kind of, I don't know for you, but a lot of athletes, when if they are really successful right away, they kind of expect to be successful moving forward. And that can be helpful and it might not be helpful depending on how you perceive that. Does that make sense to you? Like, where did you ever find any struggle mentally when you were young? How did you handle things mentally when you kind of think about it now?
I mean, when I was younger and I ended up winning that first competition, or the first like big competition that was like, oh, okay, I could be pretty good at it. Um, I definitely I felt like I was too young to think really of anything. Like it was like, oh, this is cool, like I won, but I really didn't understand what that meant. And I feel like thinking back on it, I don't even know if I knew really what was happening. But then I went back the next year and the year after that and won it again. But then I've definitely seen how, like, I think the year after that, I ended up not winning. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what's wrong with me? Like, I'm not that I was used to winning because it wasn't just like easy. But then I think that's when I started seeing the mental aspect of the sport and how that could mess with like our brain and just like performance.
Okay, so I think your mom joined my group how did you guys connect with me? What was going on back then when we first met?
That was a long time ago. I'm trying to think back on that. But I was just struggling with I think it was just like I was scared to do things and I was um I was holding myself back. And I think that's what kept me from being able to perform at my best because I was holding myself back and I had the people and the like resources I need to be like as good as I wanted to be, but I think I was just scared. I think that's what my mom saw and wanted me
And
to speak with you about.
and Kinsley, like I think that your experience is so normal and common. It's not like people need to seek out a mental strength coach like what I do, because it's not that you're not successful. People are successful, you know, whether, but there's always kind of a little bit of a, if she's not performing where she knows she can, or, parents will typically see like the lacking confidence or the negative self-talk or some of the symptoms that are going on for athletes. And so it's not so much that we need, people need to have a mental block and they can't function
Yeah.
to see me. Those people do come to me because it's very apparent. But really, your experience and adding success and adding the understanding for you how you're successful, I think has been such a good thing for your process, not just focusing on the problem, but understanding how to manage yourself to be able to be more successful and to like lean into what I call your A circle. To me, that's what you do really, really well. And does that make sense to you? Do you feel like your mental process has been not necessarily focusing on all the problems, but working with what works and then going from there to make it better? Does that make sense
Yes.
to you?
Yes, I think so. I When I first started doing or working with you, I was like, I don't want to have something else that I need to think about while I'm snowboarding. You know, I was like, sometimes it seems like too much, but that's where A Circle, I feel like, helped me the most because I was able to filter out what I wanted in my A Circle and what I didn't need in it. And I started, instead of thinking of it as like, too much to think about. It was kind of like something that I was able to control because when we first started working, I would have this thing where it was like I would do a trick once and then be like, okay, like I don't want to do it again. I don't need to do it again. But I did. Like I wanted to and I needed to do it again. But it was like something in my brain. I was like, ooh, this could go wrong. And I had all these things that would stop me from doing the trick again. But that's like one thing I remember just clearly, like changed my whole, like, it changed my snowboarding because I was able, when I started to get those thoughts in my head, I was able to like control them and be like, I just did the trick. I don't need these bad thoughts in my head. Like, I can control what's in my A circle and just do it again. So I feel like that's something I definitely have been able to see and it helps me to this day because I still do the same thing and I'm like, what am I thinking? This is silly.
Well, and you bring up so many important points there. First of all, there's nothing that's in our A circle, like whatever's in our, for the audience, whatever, we all have an A circle, a B circle, and a C circle. Whatever's in our A circle is what's controlling us or what's making decisions for us in that situation. B circle are people or things that support us to make a decision, but they're not making it for us. And C circle is everything else outside of that or everything else that doesn't matter. But when I do that first session, you brought up the thinking and you didn't want to use a learning strategy. right? You just wanted to do it. And all athletes want to just do it. But they're taught, as soon as there's a little bit of a idea or a thought that gets in their way, coaches are like, just get out of your head. And so we're taught to try to get that out versus giving it a job. But with your sport, it's pretty fast too. It's like if you have to think, it's like exhausting, right? So you managed your situation by not having to think your way through it, but to kick it out and to manage it so you could let your body be in charge, which is really valuable for people to know that they can put their body in their A circle and keep their mind out and give their mind a job to get out instead of, like you said, the learning strategy or thinking your way through or feeling. And because people have to do that if they're taught that their mind is bad.
Yeah.
Because you don't know it's good. And so you don't trust it. And so the positive and negative thoughts get mixed up. And then people, that's what disconnects people. And that's why I love working with athletes, because you guys don't have time to wait. We don't have, 6 months of sessions for you to figure this out. We've got to have a solution for it right now so you can do what you want to do. And I like it that you still use a little bit of the old sabotaging mentality, like that idea of not knowing what to think about. It's like that keeps coming back to force you to be in your body.
Mhm.
It's like it that any negative thought that people have in their A circle is only there to remind them to focus or to think about what they need to do. Or so looking at the old sabotaging mentality as not negative is what gives you the ability to layer the success mentality so that
Yes.
the negative stuff doesn't come back. Okay, so what do you think has been, you have had so many interesting experiences, professional snowboarding. You've you've been all over the world. Um, Tell people maybe what has been the most challenging for you mentally, as you rise, as you go through your situation and your experience. What for you has maybe been the hardest mentally for you? Do you
I
feel like sometimes your hard work doesn't pay off the way you expect it to?
I think a little bit, yes. Sometimes I feel like I'm overseen or don't get as much recognition, but I think something that I'm trying to do is last year I feel like it was the hardest for me. I was just so caught up in what everyone was doing and kind of like the people that were getting the attention instead of me. And now I've kind of used that as a motivation because, like, yes, they are really good and they deserve recognition as well. Um, so I'm just trying to be the best I can be to hopefully get that recognition with like no questions asked because like I care so much about this sport and I want to be the best that I can. So I'm trying not to let the outside noises get inside my head. I'm trying to kick them out as hard as it can be sometimes and as much as I try to control what is in my circle, it can be defeating and it can be hard, but I've really been working on that and I feel like it is helping.
That I think that, the higher that people go in their sport or in their life, the more that we are going to see people that don't quite know how to manage their situation within it, right? Like it can be a coach, and I'm not talking about your experience, but like it can be just a coach that doesn't know how to take care of that athlete. A lot of athletes, if they don't need their coach, so to speak, the coach doesn't necessarily need to compete them then. Like coaches need to be needed and they need to feel a part of the athlete's success. And I think a lot of high level athletes kind of like don't need a lot of people. They'll do it on their own. They'll figure it out. And sometimes the coaches and people around them don't know how to handle that energy. And so they'll, kind of shy away from it. And so I think that it's really valuable for people to know that the people who make decisions for you, you have to connect them somehow with you. You have to make them feel a part of your success because we do need support and we need help and we need people to, work with that process. But the higher that people go, I think it's always you've been able to embrace it and lean into it instead of take it personal. And that's what people can, how they can manage that so it doesn't take from them. So you're not just a victim,
Yeah.
so you're not just whining about your situation because you don't want to be like that. You didn't want to do that. You don't want to do that. And I think that athletes could do that. All athletes are victimized to some degree. But what do we want to have in our A circle and what do we want to have taken our power away from us at the end of the day?
Yeah.
We could, I have my kids in my A circle and I can use that as a cop out to not do what I need to do for myself.
Yeah.
That's so common and that's a part of life. But you move forward and you have a goal beyond the goal. And when you have a really strong goal beyond the goal that keeps you aligned and keeps you connected, but then all those other things that happen in between there aren't as destructive because you're able to manage because I'm focused on this and I'm moving forward. And you have the experience of working with me. You do my TikTok videos and my Instagram videos. And
Yeah.
so unfortunately, you have to look at everything that I record.
No, it's not unfortunate. I actually watching all of these videos just is like me having a session with you, even though I'm not. It's like I get to watch all the strategies and like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that strategy. I need that right now. Or just even watching the videos that you do with other athletes. I'm like, even though we do different sports, we all struggle with the same things and it's completely normal. And there are ways to get out of that. Like, we have it right at our fingertips.
Exactly. So what do you think? You talked about A circle
Hmm.
and, you know, tell me kind of over the next, what for you is most important? What strategy or what do you need? Is there anything lacking in where you're at right now? Or is there anything that's going really well for you that you can share?
Um, I feel like there are two things I mainly use, and I feel like one is a circle and one is, well, I use a circle all the time. It just depends what I put in it and what I don't. And then the learning strategy, because there's some times where I need the learning strategy. I need to think about what needs to be done and how to do it. But then there are times where I got caught up or I get caught up thinking way too much. Like I'll be at the drop in and my coach is like, "Go. You're sitting here too long. You're thinking too much. Like it's a trick you've done before." So then that's when I need to like kick the learning strategy out and like do the doing strategy because I know how to do the tricks. I just need to have the confidence in my head, but that's when I sit there and I change what's in my A circle. Like maybe it was thinking my way through the trick, but now I put just like key words in there and I kind of limit what goes in because I am one that thinks way too much. Um, but that is one thing I struggle with to this day, even though it's the times that I am able to do it, I end up being successful. But I do struggle limiting what goes in my head. And having those thoughts at the right time. Because sometimes I'm thinking way too much, and then sometimes I'm like, Kinsley, sit there and think for a second, what do you need to be doing? So they're two complete opposite things that happen at different moments every time.
Well, and what you're describing is so valuable for people to know. It's not so much that you have to do it a certain way. It's the options. The doing strategy, the learning strategy, A circle, goal beyond the goal are strategies that I teach people, but then they make them their own. And they build on them and they tweak them and they use them to, like you said it best, you know, having an option. If your mind is in your A circle and you're waiting too long, most people don't know what to do when that's happening, and they end up chucking it, or they end up just not going, you know, that can be mentally exhausting. And so
Yeah.
the options and the ability for you to adjust so you can take care of yourself, that's key. I will tell you, Kinsley, when you have those negative thoughts in your A circle, and when they keep coming back, they're serving you.
Yeah.
So it's not the negative thought or the idea that's the problem. You want to you want to practice looking at it as not negative, because then you'll be able to work with it. And and it, and I appreciate those thoughts that you have, because they're serving you in some way. They're either keeping you connected, they're forcing you to get back in your body. You know, they're a, so that's, even though it's kind of annoying sometimes for you to get your mind back in your A circle, that I'm grateful that you have that, because it keeps you in check. It keeps you
Yeah.
focused. It gives you something that you still need. And so that's also a thing to learn, that even if we have something, fear in our A circle is not bad. It's just there to remind us to think about what we need to do, or focus, or know that we can do it. Like you said, I've done this trick before. So I just need to allow my body to do it.
Yeah. And I actually have had a moment like that recently with this one trick that I used to be so scared of. Um,
What's
I
it
would
called?
it's a crippler seven. It's like a flip with a little bit of spin. And I was just always terrified of it. But every time I did it, it would be okay. Like I would land in a safe spot. And then I started getting consistent with them where everything was going well. So I really didn't have much, like I wasn't thinking about much going into the trick. And then I started to do it wrong. And I would hit the deck, which like I do half pipe. So I would land on the top of it and then go inside of it, which isn't fun. You don't want to do that at all. So when I started doing that, I was like, what's going on? Like, I have this trick so easy, but I think it was because I stopped thinking and I think I was just doing. And I was like, I need to take a step back and do the learning strategy again, because even though I know how to do the trick, I was obviously forgetting key steps that I needed to do in order for the trick to be successful. So I took a step back and walked through the trick, and then it would be fine. But I was like, I can't ever forget this because I need to make sure I'm doing the trick right each time, even though I know how to do it. It's like there are certain things where you can be too confident and then they go wrong.
Exactly. Like that's you explained it so well to, and Kinsley, what you have done since I met you is when usually when I meet an athlete and I feel like this was somewhat your situation, you can tell me if it's not accurate for you, but athletes have a hard time separating themselves from the sport. Right? So when something goes wrong in the sport, they feel like they're that, you know, they're equal to that. They did it wrong, or you know, they are the problem when there's a problem. And but what's really valuable when you know A circle, it's, you know, we can be hard on ourselves and we want to do better. There's nothing wrong with that. But if we get connected to it emotionally, like if we're just mad at ourselves, or if we're just feeling like we're bad because we can't figure it out, then that's what can really get in our way of us being able to get better. And you just explained how you can separate it, step back, like you said, and go, okay, what do I need to do here?
Yeah.
I'm not doing this right now, but not that you were thinking like this, but even though you're successful, so you are successful, but now what do I need to do? And that's where you've been able to adjust and take those um, things that aren't going well and figure it out on your own so that you can, make it better and do what you need to do. And I know the recent trick, and I'm not gonna know what it is, but the last couple of sessions we had, was it last fall or I don't remember when we saw each other. But you were working on some cool, tell me about that. How is that going?
So I was working on a 9, which the last rotation is scary. So it's like, even though the spin isn't huge, it was like, it's hard to get past like 7, you can see the whole thing. 9 is a little bit blind. So it's like you commit or you're dead. Not really, but you know what I'm saying. Um, so I was working on that, and that's actually how I ended up getting injured this time. I was working it on the airbag, which is like a big cushion that we usually do our tricks in before we bring it to snow, just because it's a lot safer. And when it's a blind rotation, you want to make sure you can get past that last rotation to land in a safe spot. Um, so I was working on it in the airbag and got stuck, and that's how I ended up tweaking my knee. So I have yet to do it on snow, but that's the goal for this next like spring. I'm hoping to bring that onto snow. But all the work up to it was going really well. Like I got my 7s with the right axis, like it's ready. I just need to do it. So that's how that's going.
Well, and Kinsley, injury is a part of any athlete that has experienced any length of time in the sport, and you're no different. But what I really appreciate what you're doing is you're taking care of yourself. A lot of athletes will push themselves through that, and it doesn't always end up well because they push it to the degree that they can't then recover.
Yeah.
But you're paying attention and you're taking care of yourself over the next few months so you can be successful at the end of the day. And that says a lot about what your goals are too, and what because you have the ability to do what you need to do no matter what your situation, but stepping back and seeing what you need to do so that at the end of the day you can give yourself the opportunity to achieve the goals that you want. Nobody's in charge of everything as far as the outcome of a goal. If an athlete wants a full ride scholarship, well, we can't control when that school actually offers that person. We can only be prepared for that. We can't really control all the different things when it comes to the Olympics. There's very few spots that are available, but we want to be prepared. So when you are in the Olympics, you know what to do to be your best when you're there. Same with using the Olympics to help you after the Olympics when you're doing more professional tours and things like that. And so, you are taking care of yourself in a way that puts you up to be the best that you can be, to set yourself up for the goals that you have. And I think that I've learned so much from you with that, with how you manage that. Is there anything you can add to that with that type of mentality that you have, or anything different that you use?
Well, you say that it's good that I did this, which it was a struggle. I didn't want to do this, and this I probably should have done it a little bit before.
You mean taking a break?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I was like, I wanted to avoid the whole thing and was
You
like,
were
I
in
can,
Switzerland, where you were all
yeah,
over the world. You're
yeah.
in Europe. Like last week when you were working with me, I'm like, where are you?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I'm
know.
here.
But
Yeah,
it was hard. It was a hard decision to make, and I didn't want to have to make it, but then I thought about the big picture and was like, what's if I can't, like, if I'm just gonna compete being injured and not be able to do my best, like, I want to be able to be 100% and train and get to where I need to be in order to be successful. So, like, I had to think about that, and that's how I made the decision. But it definitely was hard, and I feel like I'm still trying to be in a good mental headspace about it because, I mean, snowboarding is my whole life. I mean, I'm doing school and stuff, like I am doing other things, but in my head, snowboarding is my whole life. And being here, not snowboarding and not having a snowboard trip to look forward to in like a week or so is just, I feel like a little tough, but it's something I'm trying to adjust to. And I feel like I'm trying to learn how to deal with that mentally still.
definitely. Work in progress. And I think mentally practicing your tricks, your runs, your your passes as you're not physically doing them can be extremely valuable for you. So when you are physically back, you won't miss a beat mentally. Because it's
Yeah.
not like you have to relearn them. You just have to be physically prepared for them and mentally being able to keep going with your strategies can be helpful, even though I know it's annoying because you want to be out there. You know, if you didn't, I'd be a little bit more worried about you, you know, because then I
Yes.
would then because people will back out if they're mentally not able to manage what they need to do to be successful.
Yeah.
And that's not what you're doing. You are definitely able to manage your ability to be successful. You just want to keep doing it. Um,
Yeah.
that's so inspiring. And so, um, you know, how do you stay aligned? How do you stay connected? You know, for you, what works best for you to be able to manage all the outside noise? You mentioned a circle. Um, but I feel like there's such like an inner, is it the love of the game for you? Is it your desire to be your best for you? What's your like innate goal beyond the goal?
Um, I feel like my goal beyond the goal is kind of just to be someone that like people look up to in a way. Like I love snowboarding. It's my favorite thing in the world and I love competing. I love snowboarding for fun with my friends. Like I feel like it has become my whole life, but I feel like the one thing I do think about, like I just want to put how do I just want to be someone that like people look up to in a way that's like it wasn't easy for me. Like I don't get things handed to me. Like I've been working really hard and I just want to be someone that people are like she how do I word this? Like it wasn't easy and it was pretty hard, but she still was able to be successful, you know? And she didn't give up, and that's kind of what I want to be for like other people.
I love that, and I want to be that too. I'm I'm learning from you as well as
No, I'm
so many of my
learning from
clients.
you.
I'm so grateful for that because, you know, you're right. Like, what's the alternative? You know, you just keep going and being your best. How can people connect and follow you?
I have Instagram. I feel like Instagram is the maybe only social media I use. I have TikTok, but I don't post anything on my TikTok. But yeah, Instagram is how I
Do we have any followers on TikTok?
yeah, we have more. Do you want me to look at how many? I think we have 250
Really?
actually. Yeah.
I've never gone on TikTok.
I know. I was like, because I post the things and I look at the followers, I'm like, "I don't know them, do I be following them or not?" You know? But
You do
yeah,
whatever you
you
want
get
on
a good
there.
following, and there are some videos that have, like, get a lot of views and have quite a few likes. Um,
Very
I'm
cool.
I'm trying to figure out the algorithm still.
Me too. Me too.
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
Forever.
Well, and what is your, can we give your Instagram or
Oh,
so
yeah.
people can follow you?
It's just Kinsley White _19.
Yes. Follow her. She's got the coolest pictures. Like, I want to be, I want to like be in your world. I have the opportunity to go see Abby. We did episode 4, I think. Abby Walters, she's going to Israel this summer, and so I'm gonna try to go and watch her compete for Israel at the
Wow.
World Games. And I'm going to Costa Rica in a couple of weeks to work with some athletes and students there. So I want to come and see you. So we'll have to talk about that later, but that'll
Yes.
be, I'm really proud of you. I think you've made a, a, a mark on your sport and you're leaving a legacy, and you're taking it the your best, and I think that that's really inspirational, and I can't wait to just continue to hang out with you and to learn from you as well, because um, you're you're the quiet inspiration.
Well, thank you, and I couldn't do any of this without you. You have helped me so much get through everything.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm so happy we did this. And we'll definitely do it again. And if anybody wants to get a hold of Kinsley or follow her, definitely check out her Instagram. Please, if you like this, share it. And what do I tell people, Kinsley? Comment, share, like it. Um,
Subscribe.
what?
I said like,
Oh, and
subscribe.
subscribe. Yes, yes, that would be fantastic. I really appreciate everybody being here. And Kinsley, thank you so much. We'll talk to you later today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, bye, you guys. Have a good day.